Chosen one. This morning, your spirit did something sacred. While the world still slumbered, still distracted by noise and trivial motion, you bowed your head. You whispered to the unseen. You opened your heart in raw surrender. And heaven noticed, not as a passing glance, not as an automatic routine. Heaven paused. Angels still. The Father leaned in. And in the depths of eternity, God whispered, "I felt that. You didn't merely pray. You stirred the throne room of heaven. Your voice, humble and trembling, pierced through the static of earth's chaos and struck the core of divine attention. It wasn't just morning devotion. It was communion, a collision between desperation and divinity, and something in the spirit realm shifted because of it. You need to understand this. There are moments when prayer becomes more than a discipline. It becomes a portal. And today was one of those moments. This wasn't about eloquence or posture. It wasn't about getting every word right. This was about sincerity, so deep it echoed beyond time. Your groans, your silence, your surrender, they created ripples in the heavens. And when heaven is moved, earth must respond. It may not yet appear changed around you, but don't be deceived by silence. In the unseen, the shift has already begun. Chains have snapped that you cannot yet hear. Delays have been disrupted. Doors long shut have begun to creak open. Do not let doubt rob you of what faith unlocked this morning. You didn't just speak to God, you touched Him. And when a soul touches God, the ripple always finds its way back in divine response. You must realize how powerful your prayer truly is, not as an idea or theological point, but as a spiritual reality. Every whisper, every breath you utter toward heaven carries weight. Even if your voice cracks or fails, even if your thoughts are tangled and your words unformed, when your heart leans into God, He leans back. Your prayer is not static, it is dynamic. It builds bridges between earth and heaven. It releases angelic activity. It arrests divine attention. And it shifts the course of your life. You may feel small in a world that often demands loudness, but the quiet of your prayer was louder in heaven than the noisiest praise done for show. In the stillness of your surrender, God was stirred. That is not exaggeration. It is eternal fact. Revelation 5:8 gives us a vision of heaven, where the prayers of God's people are collected in golden bowls, treasured, preserved, sacred. Can you imagine that? Your prayers, your whispered pleas, your silent tears, your groaning when words failed, stored as incense in heaven's very throne room. That's how precious your voice is to Him. So, if you've ever questioned whether you're heard, silence that lie now. Heaven does not discard or overlook the sound of a sincere soul. And this morning, when you bent your knees or simply bowed your spirit, something holy happened. You made contact with the infinite. You awakened heaven's notice. You weren't performing. You were connecting. And God always responds to connection. He is not impressed by performance. He is not moved by polished perfection. What draws His heart is sincerity. What captures His attention is your faith wrapped in fragility. He draws near not to the mighty, but to the broken who still dare to believe. He's not looking for theatrical words. He's looking for honest ones. Lord, I don't have it all together, but I trust You. That moves Him. That invitation is everything. And it's that kind of vulnerability that shakes heaven and unseats hell. Look at Hannah, pouring out her soul in the temple, not preaching, not shouting, not being seen, just weeping silently, moving her lips in pain-filled surrender. So sincere. The priest mistook her for being drunk, But God knew what was happening. God felt it. And God moved. That's the kind of prayer that pierces atmospheres, the kind that doesn't require an audience, the kind that happens in shadows but creates thunder in heaven. You offered that kind of prayer today, and heaven received it. When you prayed, it wasn't about control, it was about trust. You gave God what you couldn't carry any longer. You stopped pretending, and in that moment, heaven drew closer. Do not believe the lie that your prayers are ineffective because they don't look like someone else's. You are not required to sound like others to be heard by God. You only need to be real, because it is authenticity that invites encounter. You are not alone in your praying. You walk in the footsteps of giants, in the legacy of those whose words shifted nations. David, Elijah, Esther, Daniel, each one carved a new reality through their prayers, not because they were perfect, but because they believed God was listening, and you belong in that same lineage. Your voice joins that divine echo. You're not just whispering into space. You're shaping history in the spirit. Your prayer adds to the chorus that has moved mountains, called down fire, shut the mouths of lions, and raised the dead. That same mantle rests on you. Luke 18:7-8 asks a crucial question: will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he delay long over them? This is the divine promise. God does not ignore the persistent cry. He does not sleep on the faith of his children. Your cries don't fade into obscurity. They amplify before his throne. Even if you've been praying for years with no answer yet seen, I know this. God has not stopped listening. You may feel like the heavens are silent, but they are not still. Your voice is active in the courts of glory. When you prayed this morning, you did more than make a request. You ignited motion. Something began to move in heaven's administration. Angels were sent. Plans were engaged. Delays began to unravel. The earth may not have caught up to the movement yet, but make no mistake, the response has already begun. What seems quiet is often the deepest stirring. What seems still is often the prelude to breakthrough. And yes, there is warfare. Don't be naive to that. Your prayers don't enter a void, they enter a battlefield. Daniel's prayer was heard the moment he spoke it, but the answer was delayed due to warfare in the spiritual realm. What does that mean for you? That even when you don't see immediate results, the battle has begun on your behalf. Heaven is working. The angelic hosts are engaged. Darkness is being pushed back, and breakthrough is advancing, even if slowly, even if silently. Do not let weariness rob you of perseverance. Do not let delay convince you that your prayer was ineffective. Spiritual resistance is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of importance. The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. Your prayer rattled something. Your obedience scared something. Your surrender cracked the foundations of darkness. And now, heaven is responding. Hold fast to your faith. Let the echoes of this morning's prayer sustain you when the waiting grows long. God has not forgotten. He is not passive. He is precise, and he is moving in ways you cannot yet see. The morning that felt ordinary became sacred, and you, chosen one, were the reason heaven stood still. Let your spirit absorb this truth. God was not simply present when you prayed, he was moved. There are moments in life where heaven seems to lean closer. And what you offered this morning was one of those rare moments. It wasn't just prayer, it was an invitation, a holy disturbance that made heaven pause. And while the room around you may have stayed quiet, everything in the spirit realm began to tremble. Angels took flight. Assignments were activated. Demonic forces that thought they had a grip on your circumstances began to scatter. You think it was just a few minutes with your head bowed and eyes closed. But from heaven's perspective, it was warfare. It was breakthrough in the making. It was a cry that pierced the atmosphere. Never underestimate what happens when a surrendered heart speaks. Your voice, flawed and trembling as it may feel, carries weight in the spiritual realm, because it's not about having the right words, it's about having the right posture. And this morning, your posture was surrender. You came not as a performer, but as a child seeking her father. You came not as one trying to impress, but as one desperate to connect. That kind of humility moves the heart of God like nothing else. That's what creates shifts in the unseen, when a chosen one chooses him above all else. And let's not forget, this prayer is not passive. It's not soft. It is the fiercest weapon ever placed in the hands of a believer. When you pray, you engage in battle. You step into realms beyond sight. You enter the spiritual ring where forces clash, where destinies are shaped, and where victories are secured. The enemy knows this, which is why he works so hard to make you believe your prayers don't matter. Because if you ever fully realized the power of your voice in the spirit, hell wouldn't stand a chance. Daniel's story still speaks. From the first moment he prayed, the heavens heard, but the answer didn't arrive immediately. Why? Because the enemy tried to intercept the response, yet it came, delayed but not denied. And the same is true for you. That breakthrough you haven't seen yet. It's not forgotten. It's in motion. God's response has already left his throne. Angels are battling through the resistance, and though the process may take time, the outcome is certain. Don't give up in the waiting. That's where many fall. That's where the enemy tries to plant seeds of doubt and despair. But you were not made to quit. You were made to press in. You were created to pray even louder when heaven seems silent. You were built to believe even when the evidence isn't visible, because faith doesn't rely on what it sees, it thrives on what it knows. And what your spirit knows is this: God is good. He is faithful, and he is moving. The waiting is not wasted. It's sacred. It's where your roots go deep, where your faith becomes refined, where God prepares you to carry the answer you've been praying for, because sometimes the weight of the answer is too much for the version of you that started the prayer. So in the waiting, God is growing you, stretching you, building your spiritual muscle so that when the promise comes, you can hold it without it crushing you. Waiting is not a pause in God's plan, it's part of it. And in that waiting, never forget that prayer isn't just about results, it's about relationship. God isn't just the grantor of requests. He is the lover of your soul. He desires your nearness more than your performance. He longs to walk with you in the everyday moments, not just the emergencies. And that's why your simple, honest prayer this morning carried such power. It wasn't transactional. It was relational. You weren't begging. You were trusting. You weren't negotiating. You were communing. And that is what moved him. This is what separates chosen ones from casual believers. It's not how loudly you pray or how often you're seen. It's how deeply you trust. It's how fully you surrender. It's how consistently you show up, not for show, but because you simply can't stay away from his presence. That's the kind of spirit that changes things. That's the kind of prayer that wakes heaven and terrifies hell. Understand something else. Your prayer was not isolated. It joined a powerful chorus echoing through generations. The same God who heard Abraham's pleading for Sodom, who heard Moses cry out at the Red Sea, who heard Elijah call down fire on Mount Carmel, he heard you, and he didn't hear you as background noise. He heard you as his child, chosen, known, loved. You're part of a divine legacy. You are walking in the echoes of history-making faith, and now it's your turn to make noise in the spirit. Not through hype, not through religious show, but through holy authenticity, through fierce devotion, through unrelenting trust. Every time you return to that place of prayer, whether it's a wordless sigh or a fiery declaration, you are shaking things in the spirit. You are announcing to the atmosphere that you belong to a God who listens. You are declaring that the enemy does not have the final say. You are participating in the unfolding will of heaven on earth. You need to hear this too. There is no such thing as an unanswered prayer for those who belong to Him. There are only prayers answered in His timing, His way. And for your ultimate good, some of the answers come as peace when you expected change. Some come as strength when you expected escape. Some come as closed doors that lead you to the right ones. And some come suddenly, sweeping you into the fulfillment of a promise you thought might never arrive. Whatever form the answer takes, know this, it is coming. And when it does, you'll look back on this morning and realize that was the moment heaven moved. So today, keep praying, keep whispering, even when your voice is weary. Keep kneeling, even when it feels like nothing is shifting. Because something is, it always is. The realm of the Spirit is not delayed, it is deliberate. Every second you spend in God's presence is not wasted. It's woven into your future, into your breakthrough, into your testimony. And here is the truth, that your soul must now carry your prayer has already made impact. Whether you see it or not, the battle has been engaged. God has heard, heaven has responded, and the weight of your cry will not return empty. You are not praying to survive, you are praying to advance. And that's exactly what you're doing. You are moving, you are growing, you are getting closer. Not just to answers, but to Him. And that, above all else, is the real reward. Chosen one, now that you know what your prayer has stirred in the heavens, it's time to walk like it. This isn't the season to shrink back in doubt or question the worth of your voice. No more wondering if God is near. No more whispering in fear. You've been heard. Not just heard, honored. The Creator of the universe received your whisper, like royalty receives a decree, not because of your perfection, but because of your position. You are His. And that truth changes everything. When you walk out your door today, walk with the awareness that heaven has you covered, that the conversation you began in the secret place is still echoing before the throne. Every step you take now is marked. You are not walking alone. Angels go before you. Favor follows you. The prayer you prayed this morning is creating pathways your feet haven't touched yet. You're not just surviving, you're aligning with destiny. Your surrender has sent signals into the atmosphere, and everything around you must adjust to what God is doing within you. It may not feel like a breakthrough. Maybe the circumstances haven't changed. The doors haven't opened. The storm hasn't calmed. But don't mistake silence for absence. Don't confuse delay for denial. If God heard you, and He did, then rest assured He's already acting on your behalf. The answer is often hidden before it is revealed. It grows in the dark. It matures in silence. But it always comes in glory. Your job is not to demand results. Your job is to remain rooted. Prayer was never about getting something quickly. It was always about becoming someone deeply. Look around at what hasn't moved yet and speak to it differently now. That situation is no longer an obstacle. It's an opportunity for glory. That problem is no longer a weight. It's a witness in the making. That closed door is no longer rejection. It's divine redirection. When you know you've touched heaven, you stop being shaken by earth. Let that become your posture. Let that become your default. Not panits. not fear, but holy confidence. You're not powerless. You're not overlooked. You're not ignored. You are heard. You are held. You are helped. And now, after prayer, comes your assignment. Walk like it. Speak like it. Expect like it. If you knew how close the breakthrough really was, you'd stop pacing and start praising. If you knew what was already en route, you'd stop doubting and start rejoicing. Don't wait for the visible to validate the spiritual. The visible will always follow the spiritual. Your words moved heaven, and heaven is now moving you. When you feel weary, remind your soul of this. Rest is not the absence of motion, it is the presence of assurance. When you rest in God's response, you refuse to wrestle with fear. You let peace be your posture and worship be your warfare. Even when the answer hasn't arrived, your spirit stays lifted, because you know something shifted. You know something was released. That is your revival. That's what rest really is, the ability to wait without wavering, to trust without trembling, to believe without demanding. And for those who feel like your prayers were whispered from a pit, God still heard you. Maybe you prayed through clenched teeth. Maybe your prayer was a sigh, a tear, a single word, help. Don't think for a second that it was less powerful. God doesn't measure volume, He measures heart. Your weakest cry carries the authority of a kingdom child. And when you belong to Him, even your silence is sacred. So what do you do now? You keep walking, not because the road is easy, but because the path is promised. You keep praying, not because you doubt, but because you trust. You keep believing, not because you have proof, but because you have peace. You keep standing, not because the wind has stopped, but because your roots have grown deep. The enemy would love to convince you that nothing changed, that your prayer was emotional, that you imagined the connection. But here's the truth: when God feels you, He acts. When He acts, things move. And when things move, His glory follows. And you, chosen one, have stepped into that sequence. So keep pressing forward. Let the fire in your spirit continue to burn. Don't let routine steal the wonder of what happened this morning. The heavens were touched. The divine was stirred. And that changes everything. You may feel like you're walking through the same hallway, sitting at the same desk, working the same job, but in the spirit. You've moved. The territory has shifted. The tide has turned. The answer is approaching. Sometimes the biggest move of God begins with the smallest prayer of man. It wasn't a loud shout or a public altar call. It was a moment alone, with your soul exposed and your heart reaching toward heaven. And now, eternity is responding. Don't stop. Don't retreat. You're on the brink of the very thing you've been praying for. The prayer that broke you is birthing you. The groaning that emptied you is growing you. The cry that humbled you is healing you. Chosen one, you are not stuck. You are on your way. Your direction is forward. Your destination is breakthrough. Your declaration is victory. And your identity remains unchanged, beloved. Seen, chosen, don't ever forget it. So now let us seal this moment with bold faith. Let this be your daily prayer, Father. Thank you that you heard me. Even when my voice was soft, you leaned in. Even when my faith trembled, you remained steady. I receive what you are doing behind the scenes. I trust your process. Even when I don't see the product, I will keep praying. Because I know you're responding, I will walk in peace. Because I know you're present, I will expect answers. Because I know you're faithful. Let that truth carry you today. Let it carry you through every delay, every silence, every valley, because heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven is building something for you, and when it is complete, it will be more than you asked, better than you imagined, and timed to perfection. Your morning prayer became heaven's movement. Your cry became a command in the spirit. And your faith is the reason doors are opening, battles are shifting, and miracles are approaching. Chosen one, don't lose heart. You didn't just speak, you stirred heaven. And when heaven is stirred, nothing stays the same. Amen.